What up, gang? It's Mang. These are the top 10 bombs you need to be drafting in Innistrad Remastered. Let's get into it. And why should you listen to me, this mysterious guy on the internet? Well, I actually did a draft event yesterday for Innistrad Remastered at my local game shop, and it went very well. We went 3-0, I won 5 prize packs, and this deck honestly felt like a masterpiece. I don't really feel this good my first draft in a limited set, but this deck played itself. I almost decked myself in 3 matches with all the card draw. I'm gonna leave this up here. Feel free to pause the video to look at the curve here. Tons of rares, they were all in my colors. Things were lining up nicely. I gotta shout out my sleeper for the set. It may come as no surprise. This card is a commander staple in a lot of black decks, but Morbid Opportunist. So much card draw if your opponent doesn't deal with it first. You're able to sack one of your own creatures to Eaten Alive. Plenty of ways to enable this on your turn. You're happily trading on your opponent's turn. You just draw so many cards, and I had 2 copies of this, so in a Golgari Reanimator type deck, just tons of value. You churn through the deck. I played 16 lands because of it. Keep an eye out for this one. I'm going to be taking this one just as highly as some of these rares on this list. Let's talk about what a bomb is. Here's my definition. A bomb is a card that is so high in quality, you should probably be prioritizing it and have it pull you into that color. You see one of these cards on the list, you should probably be thinking about either A, splashing it, or B, this might be my lane. I want to try to make this work, stay in these colors if possible. These cards are that good that you should be pivoting your draft strategy. Let's talk about some honorable mentions, because there's a lot of good cards in this set, and they can't all make the top 10. I'm going to highlight the 3 Eldrazi creatures here: Elder Deep Fiend, Decimator of the Provinces, and Distended Mindbender. They're all here on the list. If I had to rank them, I would read them left to right. With the Elder Deep Fiend, you're able to flash this creature in, and when you cast it, you can tap up to 4 target permanents. This is like Eddie Mert Crab on steroids. The Emerge cost lets you sack a creature to cast it for 1 mana cheaper. Obviously, you want to be playing blue to do that. Some creatures have death triggers. There's some benefit to using the Emerge in your favor. Decimator of the Provinces, you cast this. Creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample. So this is your way to overrun your opponent, close out the game quickly. And then Distended Mindbender, this is the black Emerge cost. When you cast it, you get to choose a card revealed from your opponent's hand with mana value 3 or less and mana value 4 or greater. They have to discard them. So you get 1 expensive card, 1 cheap card. Just disrupt their hand, probably win the game. Honorable mentions here, I'm going to continue with Angel Fire Ignition. This is a Boros rare for 3 mana. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It gains Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. Huge swing in the game. Put it on the flyer, put it on your biggest creature, gain 1,000,000 life, and you get to do it twice. It's got flashback. Very strong card if you're in that color pair. Another red rare here we need to talk about is Hanweir Garrison. Whenever this creature attacks, you make 2 tapped 1/1 red human creatures. So for 3 mana, you are essentially swinging in and making 2 more bodies every turn. So as long as you can keep this alive, you're going to be flooding your opponent with creatures and going wide. Very good in those go wide strategies. And then we got this sweet alternate art here for Hullbreak Horror. This is a reprint. We've seen this one, but you can flash this big guy in. Can't be countered, which is excellent. And whenever you cast it, you can choose up to one of these abilities, return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. So, very disruptive card. Big 7/8 on their end step. They're not expecting it. I mean, maybe they will because it's 7 mana. But this card is in the set. Just did not make our top 10. But let's get into the list now. Obviously, I've only got the 1 draft under my belt, but I faced some very strong decks. I played some of these cards in my deck. Number 10, Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. For 3 colorless, 2 blue, you get a Planeswalker. The abilities are not complicated. The +1 effect allows you to scry 1 and then draw a card. You can -2 them to return target creature to its owner's hand. And then you get an emblem if you're able to do the -8. Whenever an opponent casts their first spell each turn, counter it. It's card advantage, it's tempo advantage, just a very good blue card. And I think it's the 2nd highest blue card on the list. At number 9, Huntmaster of the Fells. This is a Gruul rare, 2 colorless, and a red-green mana cost. Whenever this creature enters or transforms back into Huntmaster of the Fells, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, and you gain 2 life. This is like their version of day and night. Basically, at the beginning of your each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, you transform it into Ravager of the Fells, which, when it transforms, it deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker, and 2 damage to up to 1 target creature that player or planeswalker controller controls. It's just like an army in the can, a very overwhelming creature, just good in those Gruul werewolf decks. At number 8, we have another blue card. We have Docent or Docent of Perfection. Don't hold me to that, I don't know how to pronounce it. 3 colorless, 2 blue. You get a flying 5/4 insect horror. Whenever you cast an insect or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue human wizard token. Then if you control 3 or more wizards, transform this into Final Iteration. It's a 6/5 flyer. Wizards you control now have +2/+1 in flying, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you still are making wizards. This card is so basically a 5 mana 5/4 with tons of upside. So in red blue, blue black decks with a lot of spells, flashback on a lot of those spells too, you're going to be creating a lot of wizards. They're going to get buffed, and the fact that it has flying on the body already is an excellent flyer. That's going to put a ton of pressure on your opponent. At number 7 is Layla, Forgotten Archangel. 2 colorless, 2 white and black. This Orzhov rare angel has flying and lifelink, and it's got this awesome ability where wherever a non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. So your opponent's not going to be able to reanimate or bring the creatures they lose in battle back to the battlefield, and you get to return the cards that are removed back to your hand. That's just so much card advantage. You're able to recast your creatures then. They have to deal with Layla first before anything else, otherwise their plans for winning that match are not going to go well. Layla is probably my pick for the best multicolor. Number 6, let's get into some of the white rares. Gisela, the Broken Blade. 2 colorless, 2 white, flying, first strike, lifelink, you name it. Gisela's got it. Beginning of your end step, if you control Gisela and a creature named Bruna, the Fading Light, that's another white card, you exile them both and they can meld into Brizella, Voice of Nightmares. Now this Abomination 9/10 Eldrazi Angel, it's got all the good keywords. They even gave it Vigilance. Your opponents can't cast spells with mana value 3 or less. If this happens, if you're able to meld those creatures together into Brizella, you kind of lock your opponent out from casting probably half the cards in their deck. You're playing limited, they have a lot of cheap spells. Yeah, Gisela's number 6. At number 5, we have a cult classic here, the Meat Hook Massacre. This is the art from the collector booster packs only, not the play booster ones. So you can't pull this awesome art in one of your draft nights, but still an amazing card. For 2 black and then X cost, you're able to give each creature -X/-X. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life. It's a board wipe, and for the rest of the game, you are just moving that life total up and down in your favor. Awesome bomb sweeper. You got to be taking this early and often. Number 4, this is a card I got to play with. Tireless Tracker. 3 mana. This creature is a 3/2, and whenever a land you control enters, investigate. And then whenever you're playing your Evolving Wilds and making 2 clues on a turn, you eventually can sacrifice your clues to not only get card draw, you put a counter on Tireless Tracker too. This card's been around, it's another commander staple. Amazing card, it goes in any deck with green basically. So for that reason, I got it at 4. You're gonna play it in any deck with green, doesn't really matter on the archetype. Can't go wrong with this. Sprinkle in some Evolving Wilds and have some fun drawing more cards than your opponent. Number 3, I also had the luxury of playing with Bloodline Keeper. This is a Vampire Factory in a can. 4 mana. This creature is a 3/3 flyer, and you can tap it to create a 2/2 black vampire creature with flying. And then you can pay 1 black if you have 5 vampires in play. You can get to 5 if you play a long grindy game with just Bloodline Keeper, but if you're playing black, maybe black-red, tons of vampires you're playing throughout the game before the Keeper even hits the battlefield, you can transform this into Lord of Lineage. All your vampires get buffed 2/2, and you can still have that army in a can effect. It's funny, when you're ahead with Bloodline Keeper, it's tempting just to swing in with a flyer. But when you're behind, you can do the whole grindy, I'm gonna fill my board up with a bunch of vampires and flyers and just go for the inevitable win con. So that's number 3. We're getting to the final 2 here. We have Wedding Announcement. This is a 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, put an invitation counter on this enchantment. If you attacked with 2 or more creatures, you draw a card. Otherwise, create a 1/1 white human. Then if this enchantment has 3 or more invitation counters on it, you will transform it into Wedding Festivity, which is just an anthem for all your creatures. They all get +1/+1. This card is strong in any white deck, especially in those green-white, red-white go-wide decks. And my pick for the best card in the set, this is a pick 1, pack 1 every day of the week, Archangel Avakin, 3 colorless, 2 white. You get a legendary angel with flash, flying, and vigilance. Whenever this creature enters, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So it's an amazing way to save your creatures when your opponent targets it with removal, or you go into blocks and then you flash in the Archangel. 4 damage is dealt. It's just, there's so many ways for you to dominate and swing the game into your favor. And then whenever a non-angel creature you control dies, transform the Archangel Avakin at the beginning of the next upkeep. And you might be asking, Mang, what does this transform into? Well, Avakin the Purifier. When it transforms, it deals 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent, and you're probably winning the game at that point. This card is a tank. It is my pick for the best card in the set. I will be playing white immediately. I will be splashing for Avakin. This card is incredible, and my pick for the best card in Innistrad Remastered. That's going to do it for my top 10. Good luck to you guys going to your either pre-release or an upcoming draft for this set. I had so much fun playing it. I haven't had this much fun since Duskmorn. I will also be doing a draft guide for Aether Drift. Also, be sure to check out my full draft guide for Innistrad Remastered. I'm going to link that here at the end of the video. It's got a breakdown for the archetypes, the top commons, etc. Hope you guys enjoy that. I'm going to end this video with a sped up pack opening. I won those 5 packs. I wanted to share with you guys what I opened. Let's see if we get anything good. But that's going to do it. You guys have a good rest of your night. I'm going to cue the music, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.